Welcome, welcome, welcome. I wish I had the little dun, dun, dun. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Shay Speaks podcast. Of course, we're featuring a dope co-host here, the lab coat astrologer. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking.
Okay, you look. Oh, was it frozen? Okay, you good? Okay, great. All right, guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to another Friday's edition, okay, to Astrology Talk. Welcome to Piff Radio. Make sure, guys, if you are listening on other platforms, whether that be Apple, Spotify, if you're viewing us on Facebook, on YouTube, or Twitter, you want to make sure you go and follow us on our platforms, right? And so we do have a special co-host here. I want to solo you out here really quick. Tell the audience where they can find you really quick before we get into it, man.
You can find me mainly right now. I'm on TikTok, Lab Coat Astrologer, all one word, no underscores, no special characters. On TikTok, you can also find me on Instagram, the Lab Coat Astrologer. You can also find me on YouTube, Lab Coat Astrologer. You can also find me on Twitter, the Lab Coat Astrologer. And pretty much the Lab Coat Astrologer, the real one.
The real one.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, man, for sure. We appreciate you kicking it with me tonight, man. We're gonna get into some hot look, just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You know, we don't want y'all to jump on us tonight. Cause it's really my fault, to be honest. I don't give a damn. I don't care. Y'all can come for me though. I don't give a damn. Cause this is Shay Speaks podcast. I don't care. Okay, I'm finished. Guys, make sure you follow me, of course, at Shay Speaks Life on all platforms all the time. You know what I'm saying? Shay Speaks Life on all platforms and also on Piff Radio, guys. I want you to make sure that you do visit piffradio.com where you can listen to us 24/7. Piff Radio, putting indie first forever. Y'all definitely want to tap in. All right. So look, before we jump into it, this is a new season that we're in. Last Friday, we were still in Virgo season, right?
Yes, ma'am.
This Friday, we in Libra season. Now, you know, I had been on TikTok, right? I can take my glasses off real quick. You know what I'm saying? I had been out on TikTok and I had been doing Libra videos as of lately. You know what I'm saying? But you know, they always say about them. You see how my junk come in, my camera come in. Them lion ass Libras. That is what people be feeling. Those videos for, I don't know about lion ass Libras, they just do great. I don't know. I can say that some of the Libras coming in like, she don't know nothing. She just basing her opinion off one. She met one bad Libra, and I was like, I didn't meet no bad Libra. I'm a rising Libra. Not that I be lying. No more. Because I had learned not to lie no more, but I was a liar. I'm a recovering liar. And as a Libra, I realized, I had to change my ways. I'm like, I don't know why I lie. I don't know. It's just...
Question.
Okay.
So when you say you're a recovering liar,
yes,
are you saying that you no longer lie, or do you not lie as much as you did before?
I'm saying I don't lie no more. But then people be like telling me, well, you a little too open or too honest or too truthful. So I got to find a balance in that. And that's what Libras do, right? They're finding a balance in everything that they do. And I be, trying not to be such a people pleaser. However, I find myself yielding, if you will, finding a balance. Libra season. Tell us about Libras, man. Because they be lying. I got my son a Libra, my stepson's a Libra, my mama a Libra, her husband a Libra.
Well, I particularly, to be honest with you, we didn't talk about this part, but I don't have Libras as the liar. Just gonna let you know.
Who the liar?
I would say that many people are a liar and come in all shapes and sizes in all zodiac signs because
Yeah.
I'm of mind that everybody is all 12 zodiac signs. It depends on where Gemini and Mercury and their aspects perhaps are in the chart.
So Gemini's be like, nah.
And I don't even
No,
honestly, to
I'm
tell you
just
the truth, I don't even think that it's always a lie. I've recognized that they don't tell the whole truth, which not necessarily could be a lie. It could just be leaving out bits and pieces where it appear.
nigga, that's lying. I don't give a damn. That's lying. Hello, are you all right? The fuck? This is what I put on my video is that omitting information, nigga. That's lying. What are you talking? What?
Is it though?
Look, the example that I gave, and this was an example given to me by a Libra male. He was like, "Yeah, I might say," I said, "Your babe might call and be like, hey, babe, what you do today?" You know what I'm saying? And he'd be like, "Oh shit, I just went to the store, you know what I'm saying, got some bread and shit, came back to the house and chilled, laid on the couch and watched the game, fell asleep." She's like, "Oh, okay, okay." In actuality, what he did go to the store, but when he got to the store, he had got old girl number on the way there. He was talking to her. He bought his bread, went home, and caked on the phone with her all goddamn night while you was at work. But he left out those important parts of old girl and caking on the goddamn phone. So my thing is that's omitted. That's lying.
See, I thought lying was like if, you know, I go downstairs and take the last Snicker bar and I know that it was yours. And then you ask me, did you take the last Snicker bar? And I say no. That's a lie.
That's lying.
I ain't think omitting was lying.
Yes. Hello. So you be doing that shit then and think it's okay. See, this the problem that I got with y'all. Y'all be sitting up there omitting information is lying, Libras, Geminis, Aquariuses, Pisces, Leos. I'm calling all the zodiac signs, okay? Omitting information is lying. Fuck that. I don't care how y'all be trying to sprinkle it up and put it. Well, that's technically not. I
Perhaps we should look at the definition of lie.
okay. Let's do it. All right, the definition of lie.
Now, perhaps we should look at the definition of lie in its most rudimentary function.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Etymology.
Okay.
Etymology. And I know you don't particularly care for the literal from what you said. Is that true?
Oh no, I mean I do care. I
I
care.
don't know. That might take some time, but I hear what you're saying, though. Omitting information, whether it's a lie or not, it's not telling the whole truth. It does have some, swiftness in the communication, and it does cause issue in relationships. So on this one, I'm going to go with you on that one. Let's, for the sake of conversation, let's call it a lie, or, being swift with words and not, being open, transparent.
Transparent. All right. Yay. Okay. I feel like I win. You got to let me feel like I won. All right. Bet. Yes. All right. So going on into the history of astrology, right? Let me put that up here really quick. The history of astrology. And before we do kind of dig into the history of astrology a little bit, of course, I do want to give our viewers and our audience a disclaimer, right? Then that means, my blind ass got to put my goddamn glasses on. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? Like this right here. You said you can't find your glasses?
I can't find them right now.
Oh, that is so sad. We're gonna help you find them one day.
Maybe I don't need them.
Yeah, maybe that might be a good thing for sure. So, guys, really quick before we jump into the history of astrology, the disclaimer. This disclaimer states that the information provided tonight during this episode is not a end all or be all. This means that take what applies to you and let the rest of it fly, which doesn't apply to you. Now, this conversation is based off of personal experiences as well as some scientific aspects, as it relates to astrology and religion. We do not encourage our viewers to merely take what is said as a rule. We do encourage our viewers and listeners to enrich themselves by researching with knowledge for yourself. Thank you. Yeah. Bow, bow, bow. No? Okay. Fuck it. So fuck it. Hey, I just had to do that. Let you know my range. Don't play with me. Look, I sounded all broadcasting and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Let's jump into it, man. The history of astrology. I'm tired of people like acting as if astrology is new age. I get that a lot in comments. I see, like, what's up with that? Can you let us know a little bit of insight of your take on the history? I mean, I know it was in second or third
There is so much history.
BC.
There is so much history that is found and that can be found when you do the research.
Mm-hmm.
I just watched a YouTube video from Cosmo 361 did a bad piece on YouTube. Bad meaning good. Informative, if you will. Definitely want to check it out. I don't recall the name of it right offhand, but COZMO 361 blazed the stage with uh, the history of astrology and its connection to religion. I would like to say, for those who are just beginning, let's just look at the word history and the word astrology.
Okay.
Because inside of the word has some basics that will take you on your path and through your rabbit holing, if you will, because there's a ton of information on it. So
Right.
history is, we can take out the HI and we can just say the story, right? The
All right.
story of the star logic is what quite simply it is. And if we look through the stories that have been told, whether they are our astronomy classes or, from Galileo, from the ancients in Egypt to going all the way back to Atlantis, we can see that there's some importance in all of these cultures and the connection to the stars, and that the stars actually have some type of logic and information to them. What I scooped up from what Cosmo 361 was saying was the connection to civilizations and the agriculture, if you will, the food, which is something that's the most important. You know what I mean? Like the seasons and the times in which to plant the seed
Mm-hmm.
um, is what, from what I've been taught as well as research, that is significant logic, right? From the stars, and far as tracking the cycles, the time to plant, the time to sow, the time to prepare, and all of that, what have you. And through time, there was an importance to, look at this and recognize that there's a connection to behavior with the animals, right? We notice that there's certain animals that come out during full moon or insects or what have you, and then into the nature of people. And like I said, there's a slew of information, historians, archaeology. I mean, there's so much out there, and still more being discovered today.
Hmm. So when people ask though, like, how does the stars or planets dictate the human affairs, and you're saying that the cycles have been studied through animal behavior, through plants, through nature, the study of nature over a period of time has led us to this point.
I believe so.
Okay.
Strongly believe so. Yes.
Okay. So when people challenge you and they say, well, maybe it wasn't studied only for a small amount or a small group of people,
Yeah,
right?
I think that when people say that, um, there's two parts to that. I think in part it's fear because of what they've been taught, preconceived notions, and another part is the lack of research and the lack of study thereof. And I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking about that the other day. I was thinking about how astronomy is considered a science and astrology is considered a pseudoscience.
Pseudoscience, right?
However, the astrologer is using astronomical positionings. When we pull up a chart on these computer programs, we're deriving that information from an astrolab.
Mm-hmm.
We're not pulling it out of our head and saying, or our pocket and saying, okay, we're gonna put moon here. Okay, yeah, I like that. Okay, that's good. No, we pull up a chart, and how we get these positions of these planetary stations are from an astrolab, which is a device that's utilized to detail the precise positioning of the planets, or the stars, if you will. Stars and the planets, for that matter. And so
Hmm.
that aspect of it, as far as the astrologer's observation, is actually astronomical, and it is scientific. I think it is uh, the attempt to interpret the planets into human behavior is what newly astronomers have an issue with. But
Right.
astrology and astronomy has been paired, uh, like brother and sister, or brother and brother, or sister and sister, however you want to look at it in that regard. For my
Hey, man.
For real.
Said says hey.
Said, what's going on?
Yes, yes, yes. We just sit up here talking a little bit about some of the history of astrology, and how it relates to our human affairs, because that's the pushback that I generally come across, and how to articulate that, is one thing. Trying to write paragraphs and paragraphs, like, man, I ain't finna be going back and forth with you, dog. Like, you gonna have to come to our show or a channel, or you know what I'm saying. I'm not about to be going back and forth with you.
Or research. A lot of people don't do the research.
Right.
The research is huge. That's a big part of, anything that you study. Um, you should be researching, especially if it's considered or been said that it's a pseudoscience, which is one of the reasons why I continually every day study if it's astrology, planetary, or whether it's events, and making connections to events to see the correlations between the behaviors and the positioning of the planets to see certain patterns. You have that website or the app that's called the pattern,
Mm,
like it's detailing and letting you know that they're looking at your patterns.
mm. Okay. I think that my mom, I was talking to her a few days ago, and she was telling me, I think it was the full moon. I think the last time I was talking to her about the last full moon, and she was like, I really do be believing now a lot of that stuff, because I do be seeing. I'm just like, okay. Now, her mother was an Aquarius, and that was my grandmother, but she always had an almanac. She could always remember her mother having an almanac, because we had a big garden back there, and so she had all kind of fruits, vegetables, and all that stuff that she grew. But she was like, I always remember my mom did have the almanac, and watching the cycles, and the moon cycles, and the best time to harvest. And she was like, that do make a lot of sense now in hindsight. She was like, I never had anyone to explain it to me. So it's quite interesting, definitely. Definitely. She a Libra though. She lying as Libra. I still say they lying as Libra. I don't give a damn. Said back. Tell him. He said he don't even call them lying Libras. He don't even call them. He be kind of saying like the Geminis. Well, yeah, they do. They slick. They're very slick. Um, he don't call Libra lying. Forget the Libras, man. They be lying.
See, if you look at the zodiac sign Libra, and Libra is the only zodiac sign that's not an animal.
Huh?
Libra is the scales.
Right.
So I look at that as I, go into the city, as I've studied a little bit of law. I've looked into contract law just a touch,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when you go in the studies, you can see, this lady with the one eye covered with the bandage, with the sword and the scales,
Right.
she might be holding a book. So I consider or look at the archetype of Libra as justice,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole idea of balance. And I say that Libras are judgmental. I say that Libras are the diplomats of the zodiacus and the judges. And maybe on a higher vibratory frequency, on a lower vibratory frequency, I say that they have a challenging time trying to find and pick between the two options that they have in front of them. It's like a fork in the road.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where Libras are like more for their partner. I guess I could see what you're saying with they lie to their partner just for the sake of it.
Yeah, just for the sake, keep the peace, man. Like I
But
don't want
it
to
ain't
argue
in,
about the shit, you know.
but it ain't in every it ain't in every situation. Again, we'd have to
That's
go
true.
back to last week's conversation and apply the mathematical equation of 30 times 360, which gives us a base of 210,800.
Uh-huh. Going
And
through the mathematical. This is where, this is what you do best, and this is where you come great in at. Because what I do, I go by
so
uh
where do you get that? Where do you get that
my
though? Where do you
intuit.
derive that?
You know what? I gained this gift to be able to really just pick up on energy, people's, you know what I'm saying? Just when my dad died in 2014, I picked this
Oh,
up through, yeah. Now it was said though, I do distinctively remembering my mother and my brother that's older. He's 10 years older than me. So before I was born, they remember my father, dressing well and all this stuff. And they always remember he had this big old belt. And this belt had this big old, the big cowboy buckles. We like, woo! And that big belt buckle was a fucking Sagittarius. So he would wear this Sagittarius belt. But he never talked to me about astrology or about, signs or anything like that. And so I was like, damn. So all of a sudden, once he died, I just picked up all of this energy. I went searching for him as a piece of me, as a part of me.
right.
Um, and I just, yeah, it's quite interesting. So I mean, I can attribute it to that because it definitely ain't the. I mean, I pick up on, just yeah. I'm a spiritualist. I have been. I've dabbled, and I was like, I don't want to go too far in that way. Like I know my lanes.
Right.
I have
Right.
the ability to tap into people, the loved ones that's transitioned, and kind of have pick up on insight and conversations that are had, but that I wasn't around, and it kind of spooked me. Like, oh shit, I can do this shit.
Right.
I'm gonna stay here for right now. I'm not
Right.
necessarily
Right.
ready for that. So I knowing within my limitations. So when you talk about the math, that's what I'm like. Yes, that's the next level. You know what I mean for me, like that I need to step into. So yes. Because I've watched people as behaviors, right? You study people. I study people as a living. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just really, really like that since about
And
13.
I think there's a lot of benefit in, the basics. I know I get to talking about the math, but just really knowing the basics and attaching the archetypes to the
Mm,
zodiac signs and the houses and the different relationships.
mm,
Like Aries in the first house, Aries in the second house, Aries in the third house, Aries in the fourth house, and
right.
being able to distinguish the difference between Aries in the first house, Aries in the second house, Aries and throughout all 12 of them, because you can kind of see a pattern.
Mhm,
Right?
mhm,
And then when you do it with Taurus, Taurus in the first house, Taurus in the second house, Taurus in the, that could be like a skit, if you will, that one could practice doing
mhm,
to gain a with practicing putting those two together and to kind of get a comprehension of how it works when you're applying it, because it is an equation, even if it's not math at an intense level. We start, you got to crawl before you walk, or we got to roll over before we crawl.
mhm,
And
mhm,
that would be the memorization of the zodiac signs and then the houses, and then starting to put them together like the one plus one.
mhm.
And even to this day, even though I've been studying for as long as I have, I still do the one plus one.
Okay.
Yeah, I still do am doing the one plus one, constantly doing the one plus one. You'll forever be doing the one plus one, two plus two, three plus, you know what I mean? Or one plus one, one plus two, one plus three, one plus four, two plus one, two, you know what I mean? So on and so forth, because you get familiar, you keep yourself sharp in that sense.
Hell yeah, I'm sharp. I'm sharp as hell, right there.
You
No
call them the training wheels.
training wheels. I be liking the training wheels a little bit. Nah, it
You
get too
gotta
real out there in the. I ain't gonna say in the field, in the sky. It get real, okay?
yeah,
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, what? I think that learning astrology for me, definitely learning the history. Like I've fallen asleep watching all these documentaries and all this back in Mesopotamia and all these. It's just like, oh, and then it
Right.
came from the Greek, and then it came from this, and then it came derived from here, and then on the Western chemistry. It's like it's so much. You go down a rabbit hole, really, and it's just like never ending. So I got to cut myself out at some point. Like, okay, I got what I needed, or I got, at this point, let me just digest this bit of information right now. What? What's up?
That is an exciting journey, an exciting rabbit hole. Because as you're talking, it is the dates that share with you the story. Because there's a pattern, like you just ripped off a few cultures. You said the Greeks, Mesopotamia, da da da.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
When you do the research and you put the chronological
Right,
timeline,
right.
you get that. We can sit up here and I could go through it and rip it and run through it. Maybe it would be accurate, maybe it wouldn't be. I might miss a couple spots, but to do that on your own, like I think it's one thing for someone to tell it to you. It's kind of like spoiling the child. If I just tell you, the history of it, and you don't look it up for
For
yourself,
yourself.
then you kind of shortcutting yourself a little bit. Because
Mm-hmm.
you know how like when you research and you study something, you kind of like this picture starts forming in your head, and you're like, oh, that's why that is, and they probably did such and so forth and so forth. I mean, mostly all these historical dates and or historical times that have happened in history all have dates attached to them.
Mm-hmm.
You
Right.
know, like for example, uh, last night, I was talking about the original cowboy, the first cowboy, and how the first cowboy, from my perspective, was a Melanin or black African American.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It brought me to Billy Pickett. Have you heard of him?
No.
Anyway, um, real short, it was just that Billy Pickett was original cowboy. He was really good at what he was doing, and a lot of people copied his trend. He was an actor and whatnot, but I was always of the mind that a cowboy was, a European man or John Wayne. When you do the research and the timeline, you see that John Wayne was born after Billy Pickett. So perhaps John Wayne's role model would have been Billy Pickett, who was an African American. And little things like that little short little history is exciting for me to go down the rabbit hole and look up Billy Pickett, find his date, like, oh, he's born in 1870. Oh, damn, John Wayne wasn't born until 1900. You know what I mean? To make that distinction, where is what the TV or what I may have perceived from watching the TV,
Mm-hmm.
John Wayne was first because I didn't have anything to go off because there were no Billy Pickett series or shows.
Mm-hmm.
Then that conditioning is formed, but it's not until I actually take the time to go back and look at
Right.
it.
For yourself.
Yeah.
For yourself. Not being told and handpicked things, right? So, even taking that a step further, just a little bit, just to scrape the surface, if you will.
Mm,
I don't give a. Didn't I say I don't give a damn?
I
I
heard.
don't give a damn. We don't give. Look, so I'm gonna talk about it in the religious aspect a little bit because that's how I actually I've had the best of both worlds, if you will, at that time where I thought like, well, I grew up, I didn't learn religion until as a teenager. However, I would attribute that maybe I needed religion at that time to teach me self discipline and self control. And so that's what I took it for as, and so I got married at 23 years old.
Mm,
Um, I was married at 23 and I was pretty young. I was done playing and did all that stuff, when I was a teenager and all that stuff. So really once I got married, it was like my real life started. I started my Christian journey. I was a Christian by then, a devout Christian. I didn't got the kids. Oh, we didn't all, got baptized and all the while, I'm following into this indoctrination, if you will, as a teenager, young. I realized that the people who call themselves Christian or practice Christianity, they ain't shit. I'm just saying that when I say that, it's a lot of excuses that are made or swept under the rug of the sake of Christianity. I've experienced from a personal level of being, no one takes accountability as much, and it's easier to pass on that accountability on something else, I find. And so through my journey, this is my own personal journey and what I've seen in my perception. And I'm like, well, dang, I did everything to the T. All the 10 commandments. I tithe. I TBN. Goddamn 700 Club, watching that old ass white man all the time. You know what I'm saying? I was doing
Jimmy
everything.
Swagger.
Yeah, listening to my husband at the time. I ain't give no, very submissive. Yeah, everything, and that shit still didn't work out for me. Fuck y'all, man. That shit is still it still didn't work out for me. I was like, man, I would get like things, would happen for me, but it was like, I read the Bible, I followed through, and I'm like, I would relate biblical things into our everyday life experiences. And then my ex-husband gonna tell me, you can't do that. You can't live like as if you're in the Bible. But ain't that what y'all supposed to do, to live as closest to what y'all put in there? I was confused. It threw me.
Right.
So I had to get out. I had to get out, literally, like the movie Get Out. The dude crying in the movie. He had to get out. That was me. I had to get out, and I did. And I sought out a whole new world into astrology, and that was when I just yeah, the stars had been calling on me since about 2008, and I just really picked it up in like 2014, 15. Yeah,
Mm.
it's a great journey.
I think that that's huge. And your story that you share is similar to a lot of people um, today, you know, from our parents, your parents, my parents, and our parents' parents, these last three generations,
Hmm.
going to church. We're coming from slavery and something that was, we were attached to bring us some type of energetic hope or faith, if you will. So I get it.
Right.
And so I was real mad, similar to you. You were like, you're like, man, forget that. I'm not going in there. I'm not doing that. However, I feel that there's value in looking at a thing after you're mad at it, to just look at it for what it is without being mad.
Hmm.
Because you'll go to find that in your rabbit hole digging, you'll see that that astrology and religion are closely knit. Like it was like astrology, religion, and astronomy were like tightly knit. Um, because the people who were elite, right? They wanted the people to have something to look forward to, right? And I
Mm.
guess communities and what did I say? I said the religion, astrology, and astronomy, and they recognize that these celestial bodies are, no matter what, they're having these certain patterns. Period. And so, if they were together a long time ago back then they should be still together to this day. It's it's people utilizing it for power.
Mm.
But if you can take away the power and just look at it for what it is, I don't know if you've heard before that the Bible is called Helios Biblios,
I've
sun
heard.
book. So like
Mhm.
I've made the connection. I say all that to say that can see the Christians, Jehovah's Witness, non-denominational, everything using this Savior as a personifying it into a person, that really the real story comes from the actual pattern that the sun makes in the course of the year. We have the 12 disciples, we have the 12 months. What a coincidence. You know what I'm saying? We have the man with the many robes, with the 12 brothers, like these numbers that are consistent throughout this uh, book and scripture. And so you kind of recognize it is for what it is, and some people take it literal, and some people recognize it for what it is, as a personification. Either way, you're still, for my case, you're still doing astrology. The Christian is an astrologer, doesn't even know it. So, and my big thing, this is who I care about, and I want to reach out to, is the people who can start to see, and it clicks. It's a click for them, and they're like, man, I think that astrology stuff has some validity. And then when they go to church, Pastor Pete Ma says, "Oh no, that's of the devil. You're gonna burn it. I'll stop.
That's witchcraft.
You
I've
stop.
heard. Let's get the witchcraft out of
You
here.
stop that. Put that down. You're gonna go. You're gonna burn eternally in the burn. And I think that is doesn't sit right with me. And it's not. I don't think that's the direction that this planet that we're going in that regard. You know. Yeah.
Get your ass. Get out of here with that nonsense.
Right.
Blast.
And it's without any research to it. Like it's just the church has a pattern of reiterating beliefs and ideologies from people before instead of doing the research. I think there's lack of research there because they're so used to just the book, the book, the book. Let's do the book. Personification. How is it personified? So they're drilling a personification, missing that personification story is actually a principle, a universal principle.
I be confused because when I used to go to church, right, I used to be like, why they keep talking about the same scriptures? It'd be like so many other books in the fucking Bible, but they would still stick to goddamn Paul, Timothy, Leviticus. You know what I'm
John
saying?
3:16.
What
Yeah.
about Obadiah and goddamn up? It was just like Habakkuk, or I don't know. It was just like, why y'all
Habakkuk.
Habakkuk, right?
Yeah.
I was just confused as to why they stuck, but then it started to make sense, and I was like, oh, okay. I'm starting to understand now because I started asking questions. So as I'm, thirsting for knowledge and daddy, I was starting to ask questions, and they don't like that shit. Hold on, you asking questions? You just supposed to believe now. You just supposed to don't know, ask. And I'm like, no, you got to explain that to me. It has to make sense. I think for me, if it don't make sense to me, like logically, like I'm just out of there. Like I'm just gonna check out. And I think for me, that's why I'm like I had to check out and do some more research so I can check in somewhere else and like do my research, line it up, and then like even I studied with Jehovah Witness, and I was like, damn, only 144 out of like all of us, like only 144. That like for real? Like I started to really think, I'm like, but that don't for real? That's it? Like I went on
Right.
this journey of different different perspectives says because it was some other truths in there they can't explain. Oh, the questions I kept asking, right? But then that would have them question, and they didn't want to, right? So that's the whole point, not having to question.
Do you know that 60 times, do you know what 60 times 24 is?
No, what is it?
1,444.
Say that again. 60 times
60 times 24 is
24. Okay.
1,440 rather.
Mm-hmm.
So that 144 number can be seen when you do the equation of how many minutes there are in an hour times the hours in a day.
Okay.
And I say all that to say that that's one of them things like the personification where these codes are embedded throughout the Bible, which actually are foretelling goddamn
Goddamn.
uh, these patterns. You know what I'm saying? 1,440 said Wayne's, yes.
Wine.
Wine, excuse me. Um, and I think that when you talk about people who are in the church and they reiterate these things, these certain scriptures, that's huge. That's a huge pickup that you did right there because um, it goes to show you that it's nothing more than getting it from the pastor before and that pastor getting it from the pastor before. And there's no research other than the book. You may find people who are religious who have a Bible. Oh, I've had this Bible for 27 years. And at the beginning when they first had it, it's probably just a little bit of highlights, right? A little highlighter, you highlight a couple of things. But after the 27th year, everything in the book is highlighted.
Right.
What are
Right.
you doing? So go and take that little highlight and go expound upon that, get you a concordance, an unabridged dictionary. That'd be the thing that I have an issue with people, because they stop and get comfortable, yep, that's what the word says, and leave it there.
Right.
And my reach out is for those who are starting to see it, but being shunned from people who are reiterating it from pastor from
Mm-hmm.
before. Like it can't be challenged. And when someone actually takes the stance where what they're saying can't be challenged, it's ignorant,
Right.
defined. So, and we're in a day and age where you gotta definitely do your due diligence. Honestly, it is all there. I mean, we're at anything is on your thumb.
Tip of your, yep.
You can find anything that you need.
Anything. Say that. Say that. I think this was definitely dope. Definitely interesting. Always tipping against the surface, right? Because again, this could be a rabbit hole. This conversation, or this topic rather, could definitely go on and on and on. However, we ain't got all goddamn night. Nah.
Sure don't. But I
Cause
would like to see before we get out of here.
mhm.
Um, I just had an epiphany. Perhaps maybe we could do a show where people have certain things that they hear from devout, because I feel like people hear these things and they do like the snuffleupagus. Oh, I guess I won't study it, you know. But maybe we can be a conduit for them to bring to the table what they may hear that may discourage them, and
Mm,
maybe find some ways that we can start asking questions peacefully, respectfully to these people, because some of them are our family members. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Try to have a conversation. I guess before that, we got to see if they're even willing. It's challenging, but I mean, we got to do it. We got to face it. There's
get
going to
your
be,
ass cussed out a couple times, and then nah.
yeah. I mean, sometimes if it got
What
to be a
happened with
cussing out,
this
if it got to be a cussing out, it's got to be a cussing out. If you have that question burning in your mind, it ain't there for no reason. The good Lord put it there, so you might as well get to the bottom of the mammoth jam.
I definitely agree. I concur. I concur. So, the lab coat astrologer, definitely tell the audience, man, before we get out of here, tell the audience where they can find you.
You can find me if you go to Instagram, the Lab Coat Astrologer, all one word, no special characters. You can find me on TikTok. I be boom bamming and bipping over there, right? I also have a YouTube, Lab Coat Astrologer, and those are the platforms that you can definitely find me. And I also have a website, tlcastrologer.com. I also have a chat box in the bottom right hand corner of that website. If something that I said sparks your interest, you have a question in regards to what it is that I do or a style of astrological reading, you can definitely ask me. And I'm also working on some type of class that shares with those how to, read their own chart. Because I think it's important. I know it's important for people to know their own chart, kind of like a map. The
Right.
same way that a building has a blueprint to it, where all the wires and the plumbing and everything like that goes, is the same way that the chart becomes important in a blueprint for one to navigate and know their seasons, similar to the farmer knowing when to put the seed in the goddamn ground.
The goddamn ground. Hilarious. And of course, guys, I'm your girl, Shay Speaks Life. Of course, you can always follow me and find me at Piff Radio at PIFFRADIO, but you can also follow me at Shay Speaks Life. That's going to be on all platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. Everything's Shay Speaks Life. If you would love a reading, spiritual life reading, you can definitely go to my website at shayspeaks.life, and definitely visit piffradio.com to listen 24/7 and check me out, of course, right? Like, hello, are y'all all right? The hell? Oh, okay, they ain't all right. Okay, all right, thanks. Says good show. Until then, guys, make sure you follow us on Twitter, Piff Radio Online. Visit us at piffradio.com. Until then, we are out of here. Yeah. Have a great Friday.
Peace.
Peace.